Hey guys, I'm Deepthi Desikan, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my most used makeup brushes. Makeup brushes I use frequently on a daily basis. I feel like these pretty much fulfill my collection, and I don't need to buy more makeup brushes. I'm not saying the other makeup brushes that I've recommended are bad. It's not like those are not performing or anything, or they've fallen apart. Nothing like that. It's just that these get the job done, and every single time I want to be like quick, finish my makeup, and I want it to look seamless, blend really well. These are the products I reach out for the most. So those are the ones I'm going to be talking to you guys about, and I will try to link most of these in the description box below. I'm not sure if they're still available for purchase. You know the market, you know how it is here. Sometimes we really like something and it gets discontinued in a whiff, so you're not notified of that. So anyways, whatever I can find, I will try to link down below. Now firstly, for sponge, I feel like you don't really need to buy the original beauty blender. I think that's a well established fact right now, that we have a lot of affordable alternatives in the market. And so if you have something like this one, this is the Mass Cosmetics sponge. This one retails for like 199 or 250 rupees, and this gets the job done. It's really nice, soft, squishy. It blends your makeup really well. I sometimes use it even dry, wet, so both ways it works really well. And it's a very durable product. It's not worn out, it's not something that tears easily, and this is something I have washed quite a few times. This is actually a freshly washed sponge that I've used quite a bit ever since I washed it, so it looks like it's stained and it's dirty. And also, if you're someone who replaces your beauty sponge quite often and you feel like it's not hygienic to keep using the same thing time and time again, it's always good to invest in an affordable option, so that you can replace it easily without it burning a hole in your pocket. So this is really good. I also use the Plume sponge, the Celestial sponge. I will leave a picture of it right here. I have it somewhere right here in the drawer. So once I'm like done with this and I feel like it needs a wash, I use my Plume sponge. So I feel like they do the job pretty well. So with these sponges, you can pretty much blend your foundation, concealer, blush, cream blushes, cream contour products, all your cream products. Set your makeup in, like spritz your face with some makeup mist, and then squish all of it in together and like make it look really nice and seamless. So you can do everything with a sponge pretty much. It's a multi-purpose product. I sometimes even try to use like powder products with this. So I try to use my products to the maximum, okay? And apart from that, if you wanted foundation brushes, now more than these flat top Kabuki brushes, now I'm not saying these are bad. I have used this a ton. I've recommended this a ton. This is something like the Pack 252 brush, which is a pretty good big flat top Kabuki brush, but I feel like this just does the job of blending your foundation alone and not anything else. And sometimes if it's not of the right density, I feel like it makes your foundation look very streaky, and especially if the foundation is of a runny consistency. So I have used this. I still do use it. Of course, I paid for it, so I'm not just going to let it go. But I prefer using something like this one. This one is a multi-purpose brush again. This one is from Real Techniques, and this is their 001 brush. Now this is what the brush looks like. And I feel like if you invest in a Real Techniques brush, most often than not, it's like you're never disappointed. They're very long lasting, very durable. I have brushes that I bought like 7 years ago and I still use them. They're still going strong. There's no shedding. The bristles don't fall apart. So I don't think you will be disappointed when you buy a Real Techniques brush. I agree that in India they do come on the higher price point, but whatever I've tried out so far, I have really liked. So from Amazon, I used to buy the Real Techniques brushes from the seller called ATM Retail, I think. They do sell genuine Real Techniques brushes, and they were formerly known as Cart to India. I'm not sure. These two sellers do sell genuine Real Techniques brushes, but yeah. So this is a nice brush if you want to apply your foundation, if you want to apply your blush and blend that cream blush and everything. It works out really well. You can also use this to set your face with powder all over. So I feel like it's a nice brush to, even if you want to travel with, so you're not carrying too many brushes. It's not ideal to blend out your concealer underneath your eyes, but if you want to blend concealer around your mouth, again, works pretty well for that. And then another two brushes that I use for the same purpose. So again, whatever I can reach out for, but you can see the similar shapes, right? These are the ones that I reach out for the most. This one is the Pro Art AK42 brush. Again, Pro Art brushes, in my opinion, are really, really nice for the price. It's been a while since I have this. Like, it's been 3 years, I think, and not a single bristle has shed on my face. It's not scratchy, and I have washed it so many times, and they don't feel bad. I mean, they don't feel uncomfortable on your skin. So this is, again, it feels really nice. It's not extremely heavy, but it's not too lightweight. I don't like flimsy brushes. And the bristles of this one, again, are packed well in a way where, you know, your foundation almost always never gets streaky, irrespective of the consistency. Even if it's runny, or even if you happen to take a little too much foundation, it still doesn't make it look streaky on your face, and it blends everything really well. Again, a multi-purpose brush. You can use it for the same things that I mentioned with the Real Techniques brush. I even use this for bronzer sometimes, like if I want to be a little generous, get the job done, I still do tend to use this. And the same thing goes with the PAC 231 brush. Everything is fading away because I have these brushes for a while and I've washed it. So yeah, these, again, really nice, durable. This one is not as closely packed as the Pro Art brushes, but it gets the job done. I use this more for my blush, or like a little thicker consistency of product, and so that it doesn't get very streaked. I use this for powder blush, cream blush, powder bronzer, and sometimes even for cream bronzer and foundation that is not too runny. Okay, so that's the time I use this, but this pretty much suffices. So when you use these kind of buffing brushes, you almost always never miss your Kabuki brush, and I can vouch for that. Like, these are pretty good, they do get the job done. And now for concealing, I have like specific brushes for that I have absolutely been loving. I have quite a few. You can choose the one that you prefer. I will mention the purpose of each, okay? And these are the 3 brushes I use for my concealer. So over investing in a brush set, I like to pick my brushes. I like to choose my brushes very specifically, because by now I know what works for me and what my preference is, and so most of the times I don't get that when I buy a brush set. So I prefer reading up some reviews, watching some reviews, picking up the exact shape, the exact kind of brushes for my makeup, and that's how I've narrowed down these 3 concealer brushes. So the first one I have is this one from PAC. This one is 073 brush. Now this is a small, like a rounded buffing brush. Okay, it's like a smaller version of that, and it's more concise. And sometimes when you happen to take a little too much concealer, or the concealer is something that is a little bit more thick, and you know, it spreads a lot, I like to use this because somehow it blends it really well without creating a mess. You know, sometimes the concealer gets on your lid, especially if you have eyeshadow on. You don't really want that. You don't want your eyeshadow to mess up. So this is something that absorbs that excess concealer but gives you a beautiful blend. Again, not streaky, not pokey, and it fits right underneath your eyes without being too big, and also around your mouth. I mean, it does the job of concealing very precisely. And also you can place your cream contour, your powder contour very precisely with this brush. Again, a little bit of a multi-purpose brush, something that has 2 uses. So this is something I really like. I don't like it when it's too big. So this is a bigger version of that. This is the Europe Girl EG034 brush. Now the reason I am still using this, even though it's slightly bigger than the PAC brush, is only when I don't really have eyeshadow on my lid. Okay, so it does get a little like messy sometimes when the concealer is, like I mentioned, a little bit thick in consistency, little full coverage concealer, and the concealer can go on top. So I make sure to use this only when I don't really have any eyeshadow on, or I also want to conceal my lids. So this is really quick and very smooth. Again, not streaky at all, and around your mouth, spot concealing on your face, it just does the job really well, very easy. And yeah, both of these really good durable brushes. Again, all of the brushes I'm talking about today, very durable, non-scratchy, nothing like that. And then again, when I have concealers that I feel like are not very great in terms of coverage, and I feel like, you know, I don't want the brush to absorb all of that product that is there, and I tend to use up a lot of product, I use this one. This is the PAC 219 brush. You can see the shape of this one. It's a little bit like flat, but has a little like a denser fluff like that. So it doesn't absorb too much of the concealer, but gives you a really nice blend, and it's not at all streaky. It's a little like, it's not a very flimsy brush. It's not something that's too wispy. It is a little bit densely packed, where it blends your concealer really well, but doesn't absorb it too much. So this is something I pretty much use for underneath my eyes when my concealer is quite like lightweight, very thin in terms of consistency, and also not very great in terms of coverage, something like the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. So if you use this concealer, you know that it's something that looks like your skin. It's not very great in terms of coverage, so in that case you can use that. And again, all of these concealer brushes work pretty well for your powder as well. So if you want to set your under eye area with powder, loose powder, this one works really well. For highlight, I have this brush. This one is a Real Technique setting brush. This is supposed to be again a multi-purpose brush where you can blend your concealer with this, but I don't like it because I feel like it's a little flimsy for that, and sometimes there's a little bit of streaks underneath the eyes. But I like this to set my under eye area with loose powder. Sometimes when I want to like precisely set around my mouth with loose powder, I like to use this. And I also like to use this for highlight. Like when I don't want my highlight to look too much, when I know that the highlighter, like, you know, it's kind of pressed a little hard in the pan, I want the brush to pick up the highlighter, I like to use this. It diffuses the product really well on your face, and yeah, it's a really nice brush for that purpose. And then for blush, I almost always, you can see me use this. This is the Cuffs and Lashes F016 brush. So this is like this one. It's like a little slanted brush that works really well for your cream blushes. It's just so small, yet it like blends the product very precisely. I mean, it picks up the product exactly the way you would want it to. Blend your cream blushes in a whiff pretty well, and also it doesn't, like, you know, spread the product too much everywhere. It doesn't come too low and all of that. So this is very nice and precise for cream blushes. And I pretty much use this for powder blushes as well, but I prefer using this for cream blushes particularly. And then I like this brush. Okay, this is from Shein. Okay, they ripped off the Wet n Wild brush. So if you wanted the Wet n Wild brush number, this is P70. I'm not sure if these brushes are still available in the market anymore, but this is one of the best blush brush I've ever tried out, especially for powder. This doesn't work for cream, but for powder it's so good. Like, even if the blush is like picked up too much at once and then you've applied too much and you're not sure how to blend it, this brush will get the job done for you. It will blend the product out in a jiffy. So really nice brush and diffuses the product really well. But this is pretty much just a blush brush. You can't use this for anything else. I feel like maybe even if you have the Cuffs and Lashes brushes, you can use this for foundation, concealer, again all over your face, but I feel like this one is just for powder purpose only. Another brush that I use specifically for blushes that are not very pigmented on its own, and it's a very buildable formulation, something like the MAC Sheer Tone blushes and all of that. This is the PAC 214 brush. So it has this angle like this, and it's quite dense, so it picks up the right amount of product, and you won't end up spending too much time just building up the blush. It picks up just the right amount of product in the first go, or even like if you take the second dip, it's pretty much enough. You don't really have to sit there and just keep applying a lot of blush. And then sometimes, you know, when your bronzer, your blush and everything doesn't look put together and you've applied too much blush and you don't really want to use a sponge to take that off, you just want to make your makeup look a lot more seamless, a stippling brush is a must. You can use this for the most pigmented blushes you own in your collection as well, and they just diffuse that product out really well on your face. This one is from ProArt. This is their PP17 brush. This is one of my favorite stippling brushes. I have tried out quite a few of them, been let down by a lot of it because some of them are too flimsy. This one looks a little flimsy, but when there's too much of blush on my face, I literally use this stippling brush. Like, even now if I want to like reapply my blush but I don't want it to look too much, just this. It applies the right quantity of it on your face, and almost always never go wrong with this blush, and it gives you that smooth, seamless application as well. Definitely look into investing in a stippling brush. Now, I am giving you quite a few options because these are the blushes I reach out for, but you can narrow down and select the ones that would be of more use to you, and in that, definitely make sure you add a stippling brush. It can be any brand you like. And then the next set of brushes are not something I reach out for the most, but if I have the purpose of, like, you know, say contouring, I would like to reach out for this one, like to place my contour specifically on that area of my face, make sure that it's not gone too low, too high. So that is this brush. This is the e.l.f. powder blurring blush. It's supposed to be like for your cream and powder products. It has this kind of like a shape. Over this, I actually really like the Miniso brush. This one, I'm not sure if you can find it anymore. It is discontinued, but this one works really well for your cream contour, like to place it, to blend it, to apply it everywhere, and like it's just so nice and dense, but I'm not sure you can find it, so I'm not recommending this, but it is something that I would reach out for when I want my cream contour to be placed very precisely, especially if I'm not doing it before my foundation. So that time I used this one for contour products. And then for powder bronzer, and just to diffuse it on my face, I like to use this brush. This is from Mars Cosmetics, and this is like a small tapered powder brush, and it's not too dense, so this works pretty much only for powder products. If you want to set it underneath your eyes, around your face, everywhere, or to bronze your face and like diffuse that bronzer, this works pretty. And then for again, only for powder, okay, I don't really like to use this even for bronzing my skin, just for that light dusting of loose powder all over my face, or just to set it with a compact, but I don't want too much coverage and everything. I use this is the Plume P23 brush, which picks up just a very light amount of product. It's not something that would give you crazy amount of coverage, add too much product onto your face. That's the only time I would reach out for this, but if you have those brushes, you don't really need this. And then again, bigger brushes that work for, like, if you're someone who goes a little heavy handed with your bronzer, want to apply it lavishly, also you use your powder products quite lavishly, you can use these brushes. This is a Swiss Beauty powder brush, and this one is the PAC 238 powder brushes. Both of these have similar shapes. You can pick either one of it. I think Swiss Beauty would be an ideal choice because it's really affordable, and sometimes I have used this Swiss Beauty one to apply blush as well, and they do apply your powder blushes really well. Now moving on to eyes, I am a big fan of this kind of like a big fluffy blending brush. This one is from ProArt. This is PE20. I have two of this, and this one just applies, like, if you want to intensely apply your crease color, like if you want to apply your transition color very lightly, you can do so with this one, or if you wanted to like make it very intense, again you can do that with this. It is just so nice and fluffy. It fluffs out that color really well and just gives you the most smoothest blend. For eye makeup particularly, I would be very specific with my brushes, because brushes do make a lot of differences. Otherwise your eye makeup just looks a little blotchy, it looks unblended. So for that, make sure you do use good brushes. It doesn't really have to be expensive, from affordable range as well. Just try to pick out the right kind of brushes. And if you're trying to like apply a little bit of color to your crease and also blend it at the same time, you can use a brush like this. This is the ProArt PE23 brush. So you can see it has a little bit of that pointed edge to it, so you can apply that color onto your crease a little more like precisely. Say you're like doing a lot of like colorful looks, you wanted to add a little bit of green, and you want it to be a little more precise, you can use this. And you can also use the Plume P24 brush, which comes like this. This one is good to add color to your crease, outer corner, and your lower lash line. So again, a multi-purpose brush, works very well for all of these purposes. And this one is the ProArt AE25 brush, which is like flat like this and fluffy, like when you look at it like this, like it's a, what is it called, flat tapered brush with a fluffy end. Okay, so this you can apply color to your outer corner, all over your lid, or if you also want to blend some color on, you can do that with this one. Did I already apply a lot of color to my lid from these brushes? Maybe I did. So you can use this brush for that. So if you wanted to apply a little bit of color on your outer corner, you wanted to also blend it into your crease, you wanted to diffuse the color really well, if you've applied a lot of shadow and you wanted to like blend it, this works really good as a blending brush as well. And then this you get a pack of like 4 on Amazon. These are pencil brushes. You can find so many like this on Amazon. These are very, very helpful when you want to apply color to your lower lash line, when you want to intensify your lash line, and you also want it to like, you know, not come too low so that it just looks messy. Just want it to be a little bit more defined but also blended. These pencil brushes work like a charm for that, and you can never own too many of those, in my opinion. And then for eyebrows, liner, even for my lips, I like to use these angled brushes. So this one is from Swiss Beauty. This comes with spoolie, so this works really well when you want to brush your hair and everything. This works really well. It has a nice angled tip. I use this for my brows. And you can also use something like this one. This is the Plume P15 brush. This is a little bit more like precise compared to the Swiss Beauty one. You can see it's not too thick, so it doesn't pick up too much product and it wouldn't like get shabby. So this is also really good. And this one is from BH Cosmetics. This is also a liner brush. I use this for liner, for brows and everything. And then I use this Plume brush especially for my lips. This is P13 brush. I feel like when I want to like blend color on my lips or like diffuse it out or like anything like that, like color mixing and applying it a little bit more precisely, I use this Plume P13 brush. And then last but not the least, we're talking about shader brushes. This is from the brand called Babila, and this was for like 100 rupees or something. This is one of the best flat shader brushes I've seen. It's like exactly flat. You know, some of the flat shader brushes are a little bit more thick. I don't really like that. This picks up that shimmer shade exactly the way you'd want to, pack it really well on your eyes, and you can also cut your crease because it's really nice and pointed that way. So this is a really good brush. And I did have another brush, I think from a brand called Gub, that was also really good, the flat shader brush. So definitely do check this out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are all the brushes that I use pretty much on a daily basis. Every single time I'm sitting down to get ready, I do of course switch out my brushes, use my other brushes that I have as well, but these are the ones that I reach out for the most. So let me know your favorite, absolute favorite brushes, especially if you have like some brush recommendation for concealer, for foundation. Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will make sure to link as many of these products as I can. So yeah, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.